Yard here, and it's like a sauna in here. Oh wait, it is a sauna. We just watched the first semifinal of the Eurovision Song Contest, and why would I be in a sauna? Well, because of Sweden, of course. Bara Bastu, one of the qualifying songs. There were 10 songs that made it to Saturday's final. 5 went home. We'll get into that in a second because there was a surprise or two. There usually is. Sweden was not one of those surprises. Sweden, a song about a sauna and a big sausage, so I've heard. That's one of the songs that made it to Saturday's grand final. They remain the favorites to win the whole contest, and it was a pretty good performance. But let's take a look right now at the 10 qualifiers. In the order they qualified, they were Norway, Albania, Sweden, as we just said, Iceland, the Netherlands, Poland, San Marino, Estonia, Portugal, and Ukraine. Those were your 10 qualifiers. We got 8 out of 10. You want to hit 10 out of 10 on your predictions, but I guess we'll take 8 out of 10. Oh my God. So, yeah, there were some surprises in there. We'll talk about that in a minute when we go through our surprises and disappointments from the first semifinal. First, I thought Switzerland did a pretty good job with the hosting. The hosts, you know what? When you look at Hazel and Sandra, it's not easy to follow up a legend, which is what they did with Petra. Of course, Petra was there, which was great, but they held their own. They did a pretty good job, so I look forward to seeing what they're going to do on Thursday and Saturday. Yes, there was a point where they were really stalling in the green room, and I think that was probably because of technical difficulties or some sort of difficulties counting the vote, and they did the best they could with it. So yeah, I'm happy with what I've seen so far. The postcards are very, very nice. The stage ready is actually beautiful, the way that they've done it. So yeah, and the stage itself is great. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with what Switzerland's doing with this. They've waited a long time to host this contest again. It's been since 1989. So yes, so far so good for Switzerland. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go through our top 10. What we do is we have a scoring rubric that's extremely complicated. We score all the songs on various categories, but it boils down to the same 4 categories that the EBU would tell its jurors to look at, and those are the overall quality of the performance, the vocals, the composition, and the staging. So our rubric feeds off of that. We look at a lot of different categories, and we put in numerical values, and it spits out a score at the end. So at the bottom, at 1 point we would give to Ukraine. The song had better staging than it did at the national final, which really isn't saying much, because if your staging isn't better than your national final, then you've got a problem. But yeah, it was. It felt a little off to me. I think there's a reason that it came down to the very end for them, but it was okay. 2 points I went with San Marino. This was another one, it's kind of a one-note song. It kind of gained cult fame after Sanremo. But you know what? Clearly there were enough people out there that liked it. And the straight vocals part where you got the 2 guys singing in masks, that was kind of, it was all right. But then things really got crazy with it. Yeah. So you knew that there were going to be people out there that were going to be tied to that song and that we're going to support it. 3 points I actually had Azerbaijan. It was better than I thought it was going to be. It wasn't really my favorite, but it definitely had some energy. I didn't think it was going to qualify, but I'll give them their props there. I'm also going to give some props to Slovenia. I really didn't think that I was going to connect with this song, and I guess in a way I kind of didn't, but the composition was fine, the vocals were fine. I think he put some emotion into it. I didn't love the staging. You were expecting the upside down thing, which happened. But other than that, yeah, I think it was a respectable performance. And I think the fact that Slovenia, I had them with 4 points, is probably more a reflection on the quality of the semifinal as a whole. 5 points, I had Norway. Norway had kind of a generic song here. We have said that pretty much throughout the entire process. I think this was the best song Norway could have sent this year, but it was a respectable performance, had a lot of energy, and yeah, it's going through. I see it finishing on Saturday somewhere in the teens, between 10th and 19th place. Very broad range, but that's roughly where I think it's headed. 6 points I went with Poland. This is better than, I guess, what Poland has been sending in recent years. This one had a lot of energy, an experienced performer who knows what she's doing, someone who's been to Eurovision before, although you can't really compare Eurovision in 1995 to Eurovision today. This was a much grander performance than what she did 30 years ago, but Justina did very, very well. I was locked on her the entire time, so yeah. And another thing too, if you look at our score sheet, and I haven't made that public, but I'm telling you what it says. The difference between the song in 6th and the song in 10th is actually relatively narrow. So just a shift of a few points here and there, and I would have had completely different numbers. 7 points, I had the Netherlands. I think Cloud sang pretty well. He's a good performer. He's got a certain charisma when he's on stage. I had a feeling that was going to come through. This wasn't my favorite song, but it was definitely good enough to end up in my top 5 today. 8 points, oh boy. 8 points, I had Belgium. For all the good it did them, probably should have tossed them a few votes. But yeah, Belgium didn't qualify. So here's the thing with Belgium. I will get more into this in a minute when we talk about the disappointments, because I think you already know who it is. It's Belgium. I thought the underlying song, when you're coming out of Eurosong and listening to the studio version, the underlying song I actually think is pretty good. It's a very interesting song. It's very different than what Belgium usually does, and it's different than a lot of what you see at Eurovision when you come to think about it in recent years. But there was definitely a little something off in that live performance, and like I said, I will get more into that in a minute. 10 points, I had Sweden. Really no surprise that they're up pretty far. For the majority of the semifinal, I thought they were comfortably in the lead until the top song took its place. It was a good performance. You knew it was going to be a good performance. The vocals were respectable. The visual of the song was very, very good. They're in a sauna, which, you know, that's evidently a place people go, like me. And it was just very captivating. You wanted to root for them to do well, and they did. So we will see Sweden on Saturday. But of course, the number one song that I have, Deuce Point, goes to Albania. Albania, this song was made for me. And this isn't the kind of music that I would ordinarily listen to. But Albania, I thought she sang beautifully. And just the contrast between the two singers, you know, that it got me the first time during Festival Kangas back in December, and it got me again now. And the visuals with the staging, all of it just put together. It was just so interesting and just so different. This is the kind of song that you would never see at Eurovision before now. They have blazed a new path, and that is an intentional choice of words because the song is about fire. They have blazed a new path in this contest. And I really look forward to seeing what they're going to do on Saturday in the grand final. So we're going to talk about surprises and disappointments. The surprise for me here is Portugal. Portugal qualified for the grand final. Here's the thing. When you watch a contest like Festival de Canção, they pick a song that works for them. If you just listen to the entire lineup, they are not, it's very similar to Sanremo in this way. They're not picking a song that they think is going to do well at Eurovision just for the hell of what's going to do well at Eurovision. They are picking a song that they, the Portuguese people, like. And that's what they did with Napa's song. They picked a song that worked for them. Now it goes to Eurovision. It was dead last in the odds for this semifinal. It was dead last. And not only that, it had to go after Sweden, which was one of the most high energy songs in the entire semifinal. And then you've got this very placid, pleasant Portuguese song. And it qualifies in a televote only semifinal. So I was very surprised that Portugal got through. Good for them. Good for them. And you know what? They stayed true to themselves. And they got through. They literally defied the odds to get to the finals. And then disappointment, we've already said it. It was Belgium. Belgium, again, was the shock NQ of the year. It happened last year with Musti, and it happened again this year. The difference is that this song from Belgium was in the top 10 in the odds to win the whole thing. And it just completely fell apart for them. So when you look back at the performance, I do maintain, and this is part of why I had it rated so highly, I do maintain that I think the underlying song was very good. I think it was interesting. I think it was different. I think Red Sebastian is a good performer. I actually gave it a very low score for staging. There was something off about the staging. When I watched Eurosong a couple of months ago, I had said that there were times, and I did a write-up about this as well on the website, theeuroyard.com, by the way. There were points in time in that song where I thought that Red Sebastian could have gone even harder with the staging. Now, you would think that going from a national final, a Eurosong, to Eurovision, that the staging would take a leap forward. There were actually points where I thought the staging was a little worse than in the national final. Towards the end, there was this graphic where, it's the song's coming to its big conclusion, and then there's just all like these people dancing in the background. I actually hated that. I didn't think that worked at all. And like some of the camera visuals that we got in Eurovision were different from Eurosong. Coming out of this performance, I gave it a lot of credit because I thought the underlying song was really good. But I was a little concerned coming out of this performance because the staging just wasn't hitting it. And you look back at what happened last year with Musti's song. It was another one where the staging just really was not doing what I thought it was going to do. So I came out of that performance concerned that maybe it wasn't going to do as well as I hoped it would. And you know what? When the results come out after Saturday's final, I'd be very curious to see where this landed. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 11th. But yeah, a shock non-qualification again for Belgium. They were clearly the disappointment here. So what's coming up next? Well, I can't guarantee that Thursday's video is going to be in a sauna because it's hot in here and I got some stuff on. But what is coming up next? The second semifinal on Thursday. It'll be at 9 o'clock Central European Time, 8 o'clock in London, 3 o'clock in New York, 12 noon in LA, but 5 a.m. Friday in Sydney, Australia. So wherever you are, I hope you enjoy the second semifinal. I hope you enjoyed the first semifinal. And we'll see you again in 2 days here on the Euroyard. And in the meantime, you can follow us on Blue Sky. We posted a lot today. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel and visit theeuroyard.com.